Welcome to this published author's interview. My name is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me I have a special guest that I will be interviewing. First, I just want to mention, if you watch this interview and you would like to write a book yourself, to become an author and write your first book, there's a link with the interview for you to join the group, become an author and write your first book, to connect with like-minded people who are doing the same. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to our viewers and listeners and to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I am DelShanna and I am from the United States in the western region of Las Vegas, Nevada. And I am so happy to be here. I am a published author of 2 books with another book coming out just around the corner.
Wow, that's amazing, DelShanna. Thank you so much for making time for the interview. And if somebody's watching this interview and they would like to know more about DelShanna, what can you share with them? What do you do when you're not writing?
Everything. I am a mother, I am a wife, I'm a ministry leader. I do praise dance and worship with flags. I also have my own business. I'm also a full-time employee helping to keep children safe in our community. I'm a friend, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. I'm all over the place.
Oh my goodness. You have quite a profile. I have friends who are mothers, and they tell me that that is a full-time job. If you are just being a mother and you're not doing anything else, you have a full-time job. And you're doing motherhood and everything else with it. And you have also published some books.
Yes.
You're going to have to share with me what your secret is.
My secret is my faith. Long nights and early mornings and no sleep.
That reminded me, this friend of mine that said, with motherhood, she's like, once you become a mother, you have to forget about sleep for at least 12 years.
I'm gonna push that to about 25. I have 3 children, 2 adult children and 1 still home. And sometimes I try really hard to believe and trust that they're okay. But my adult children, sometimes I stay up late worried about them. Even still, they have their own place, their own families, taking care of themselves. But when you're a mom for life.
Indeed. Wow. I see that. It's wow.
Yes.
There's a saying that I have in my language. It says, a child never grows up in the presence of their parents.
Never. Never. We make slight changes and adjustments.
Yeah.
But that's still my baby.
Oh yeah, I get it. Wow. So tell us about your books. You've published 2 books.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
All right. The books that I publish is Journey from Salvation to Worship. And then I accompanied that book with a workbook, Journey from Salvation to Worship, a workbook. It's a book that takes you through 12 phases of scripture in the Bible, specifically passages of scripture that help to understand God, help you to get a better relationship with God, and really just peel away the junk and the mess and the trauma that we go through in our lives that hinder us from being our authentic self. And so these 12 phases are pretty powerful. I had the privilege of just getting introduced to people along my own journey. During those introductions, a scripture would be given to me, and that scripture I would read continuously and faithfully, and it would just begin to help me feel protected. I was a single mom for a period of time, and so fear was something that really was overwhelming for me. But I had scripture to help me feel protected. I had scripture to help me know that, I have a powerful spiritual force that surrounds me, that keeps me safe everywhere I go. And there's other scriptures in there as well that help me know that I can really put forth the attention and focus and bring forth the authority that I have as a woman and the authority as I have as a believer, to know that there's a greater force that lives in me and lives about me, that allows me to propel and allows me to seek after things and I can actually receive them. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful journey that I went on. This journey that I went on was about 10 years. 10 years of just craziness, promiscuity and alcohol, and just dealing with the wrong people and having crazy interactions in the spiritual realm, and just, poverty and all sorts of things that I had, and depression, and just encounters with suicide and suicidal thinking. It was just awful when I look back at it, but it was through God and through those scriptures that really pulled me out and allowed me to survive it. There were some people in my life that were supportive, and they were at the right place at the right time to give me exactly what I needed on my journey.
Wow. Quite a journey in there, DelShanna. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that.
Absolutely.
And if somebody is watching us and they find themselves in this place right now of not knowing what's going to happen next, or this place of pain and being lost, and maybe like what you described, knowing what you know and the experience you have, what would you share with them?
Wow. I would say you just have to take deep breaths and work through the process. The way the book is laid out is in prescriptions, because literally the scriptures became my medicine that I ate every morning and every night to give me the strength to go on and the courage to continue in the fight. So many people give up, and quite frankly, that's the easy thing to do, to give up. It
Yeah.
takes power to fight, and that power came from the scriptures that really just gave me the fortitude to wake up in the morning and the fortitude to face failure and to face the circumstances that I had to live with. And I would say, go to the word. Get my book if you don't know where to go. And if you know where to go, it will be the word.
Amazing. And the title of the book is From Salvation to Worship.
Journey from salvation to worship.
Journey from salvation to worship. Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing in it. And looking at the journey that you have been on yourself, what inspired you to write this book?
I had been writing for some time. Even in high school, when I was very young, I would write. I wrote poetry, would start writing short stories and the like. And, I started a family. It didn't work. I was a single parent. I did college. I was working full time. And then something on the inside of me said, it's time to write again. I was inspired really to write about some of the trauma that I had experienced in my life and tell the world that you can overcome the trauma. But I got stuck. I got to a place where I realized I wasn't healed enough to
Yeah.
write that story. I wasn't healed enough to help people with
Yeah.
my story, with my core story. So I took a little detour. I had an excellent mentor, and she said, write about what you know.
Yeah.
And I just took a deep breath. I sat back in the chair and I paused for a moment, and I realized I know how I got here. I
Aha.
know how I made it through. So I can write about that. I know the
Yeah.
scriptures that I read every day that helped me keep going. I know how God used those scriptures to just kind of let me know the areas of my life that I was wrong and needed to make amends and forgive, and the areas of my life where I was right and I needed to mature those areas and build those skills. And the people he put in my life and the people he took, I know how I got here. And so that's what inspired me to write the book, The Journey from Salvation to Worship. I was driving during the process of writing the book, and I knew what I was writing about. I had no idea what the title of the book would be. And I was like, I need a title. I have no idea what to call this. And as I was driving home from work, it came to me in the midst of the car. It's the journey from salvation, just being
Cool.
saved, just
Wow.
accepting Christ, just believing, to worship, establishing intimacy and maturity and relationship with God. And it was just amazing. Absolutely, absolutely amazing.
Wow. And that's powerful. It's you answered my next question beautifully. That the topic, the title just came to you because that was my next question to you. That you were driving and the title just came to you. And when it came to you, you were sure that this is it.
I knew it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wow.
That was it. It's the journey. It's the
It's the
journey.
journey. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And if somebody is on this journey and they're finding it, I like what you talk about, that you know how you wrote about how you got to where you are, how you like you trust the journey, like you sort of like trust the steps from where you are to where things started, and then you sort of like realize there's a roadmap here. It wasn't just me wandering, but I was actually on a journey. And if somebody is going through this similar experience and they find that it's a bit tough on the road,
Yes.
considering the way life has been disrupted with the coronavirus and the pandemic, uh, livelihoods have been disrupted, loved ones have been lost, businesses crashed, jobs not secure. What would you share with them, knowing what you know?
I would tell them that God is able. That there is a place on the inside of us that we oftentimes don't even tap into. It's the power source that lets us know and connects us to the possibilities and the possibilities in impossible situations. That though it may be bleak and dawning, though it may be dim and you seems like you're drowning, there is still hope for tomorrow. That there is a light at the end of every tunnel. And you just have to believe that. There's a scripture that I often use that talks about it works out for my good. It does. It works out for my good. I had to go through these crazy things. I had to be a single mom. I had to get a divorce. I had to work 4 jobs to take care of my son. I had to have a crazy relationship. I had to be a single parent, work 4 jobs, and go to college at the same time. This is my journey. It had to be hard for me, so that I could have the testimony to help others know, don't give up. Because the hard time is only for a season and a time. It goes away. At some point, it lifts. At some point, it's released from you. And you just have to believe that there's light at the end of this tunnel. There's light at the end of the pandemic. There's light at the end of the current financial state of our countries and our neighborhoods and our regions. Don't give up. Continue to build yourself. Continue to work on your heart. Continue to work on your mind, the things that no one can take away from you. And when that light shows up, you'll be ready.
Powerful stuff. Thank you so much, DelShanna. Wow. And looking back on the journey, now that the journey from salvation to worship is out of you, when you look back on the journey from when you got the idea to write the book and now that the book is published, would you consider yourself as a naturally talented writer, or would you say that writing is a skill that you've developed over time?
I would say I'm still developing the skill of writing.
I see.
That while the desire to tell the story is natural for me, and the desire to help people and encourage people and inspire people is natural for me, writing is not. I have to work on it. I send my writing to editors. It gets written, tore up in red ink, and it comes back to me, and I have to rewrite and revise and reconsider and expound and take away and delete. It's amazing, but I love that piece of the process every time I go to publish a book because, one, it keeps me humble.
Indeed.
I am not the perfect being on this earth. I do have a story to tell, a message to give, and I'm so grateful for those who helped me get that story out and that message out in a way that other people can receive it and grow and build from it.
I see. Wow. And looking at the journey that you have been on, what would you tell me is the one thing that has happened to you personally that you can point to and say, this is the thing that has most impacted me and caused me to write?
Forgiveness.
Forgive.
Being on this journey, the one thing that has impacted me the most is being exposed to the things I did wrong, and that causing me to forgive myself, forgive those who hurt me, and cause bad situations in my life, and to continue to be forgiving because I'm still living, so the journey's not over. And so there are still people that I come in contact with that, may try to betray me or drag my name in the dirt or do me wrong. I still have to forgive them. And so forgiveness, I think, will be the greatest impact, because it is through that forgiveness that I'm able to go to deeper depths of my own personal life and my own personal trauma to tell the other story that will really help pull people out of slumps and pull people out of devastation.
I see. And if somebody is watching us and they find themselves struggling with this aspect of life, forgiveness, that they're like, I hear what you're saying, but you don't understand. You don't know what they did to me. You don't know how bad it hurts. I can't forgive them. What can you share with them from your experience?
I would say that forgiveness has the greatest impact because it's more for me than it is for them.
Wow.
That when I forgave those who abused me and did me wrong and left me for broke, I received power and authority from forgiving them. And that when I did that, it wasn't about them accepting my forgiveness, or it wasn't about them being those that were willing to recognize that they did anything wrong. It was about me and my space and what was going to hinder me and block my progress and what wasn't. And that was one of the greatest exposures that happened on this journey, is that I needed to forgive them and forgive me for the part I played in it, no matter what they said or did not do. And that you can do it. I would tell them that you can do it, but you have to do it for yourself, not for them.
It's for yourself, not for them. That's powerful. Thank you. And are you currently working on any other books at the moment?
Absolutely. I just finished. The writing is done for my next release is coming soon. It is entitled Undocumented: My Story, My Journey, My Truth. And what is so amazing about this book is that it talks about the emotional trauma that's associated with being abused, and particularly abused as a child, and how the emotional state of mind and the emotional experiences that you go through having had that trauma as a child. I think a lot of times we talk about, oh, you can just forgive and be free, right? But the problem is there's something going on the inside of us that we're not able to talk about. And that's what's undocumented, is that no one is talking about the self-thought, how we hate ourselves, how we feel like spoiled goods, how we don't feel like we can control what happens to us, how we are angry on the inside and don't even sometimes know why, how we have reactive responses to people based on our trauma and not based on the relationship with a person. And so Undocumented is about telling that, releasing and revealing that side of the emotional walk or the emotional journey to healing and wholeness. We've got to be healed and whole. Bad things have happened to us. What none of us can do is go in the past and erase it. We can't do it. It's a done deal. But what we can do is release it.
Uh-huh.
Forgiveness is difficult if the story is still a secret and it's still on the inside of us. Then it's almost like it grows bitter and it begins to rot from the inside out, right? It causes sickness and illness and all. We've got to get that out of us. We have to release it. We have to tell those stories and those pieces and parts of the stories that keep coming up and keep holding us back. So undocumented begins to document those very things.
Wow. Undocumented. I'm looking forward to this one. And this was very inspiring and very powerful, DelShanna Moore. Thank you for making time for the interview. And where can people buy your book?
They can get my book, I'm sorry, they get my books at my website, which is www.iamwrappedinhisword.com. I am wrapped in his word.com. My books are listed there, plus some other paraphernalia that if they're interested in, they can do that. You can also reach me by going through the website, or they can always look me up on Facebook or social media. I am DelShanna Moore, DelShannamOore. I am DelShanna Moore.
Amazing. We will put those links with the interview so that people can access the books and also to contact you, because I mean, you are full of life and energy. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And this was great. I'm just curious. We've spoken about a lot. Is there anything else that you would like to share that I have not been able to address in the interview?
You know, I would like to encourage the people who have been silenced to tell their story. And if for some reason they're embarrassed or feel like they can't really release it publicly, that they tell the story anonymously and allow someone else to grab it and write those visions and write those messages so that other people can still get the help that they need and know that there's a way out, and know some of the real intense trauma that people are going through and living with, and that they're still pushing forward. So I really want to encourage people to tell their story.
Wow. Very well said. Thank you so much. This was great. And I will sure be keeping in touch with you, DelShanna.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for this time, Kenneth. I appreciate you, sir.
Welcome.